My name is Roland Jennings. Friends call me Raleigh. I'm 61 years old, born and raised right here in Ridgeline, North Carolina. This town is in my bones, same as the sharp chill of the Blue Ridge winters. My childhood was simple. My father, Martin, was a railroad man for American Rail. He wore his uniform with a pride that I soaked in. He'd take me to the yards, and the sight of those massive engines, that power, that purpose, it stuck. Since I was a boy, I dreamed of wearing a uniform, of serving, doing something that mattered. And I did. I joined the State Highway Patrol in 1975, the day I was eligible. I dedicated my life to that badge, protecting people, upholding the line. It wasn't just a job, it was who I was. I gave it everything. I thought I had built a life as solid as the mountains around us, a fortress. Turns out, I was wrong. You never really know who's standing right beside you, not even after a lifetime. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. I met Lorelei in 1985. I was 28, a young trooper, and she was a 24-year-old teacher, new to town. I saw her at a community barbecue, and it was like the whole park went quiet. Her smile, it just lit up everything. I fell hard. We got married the next year. We built a life. It was never rich. A trooper's salary doesn't make you wealthy. But we lived with dignity. We bought a small house, fixed it up piece by piece. We had 2 children. Mason Jr., our son. He took after me. Quiet, observant, joined the Army just like I'd hoped. Now he's a captain. Then came Audrey Marie. She was all her mother's spark. Brilliant, talkative, became a doctor. 33 years. We shared the same bed, the same table, the same dreams. Or at least I thought we did. We were Roland and Lorelei. The Jennings. As solid as the oak tree in the front yard. A fortress. About a year ago, the first cracks appeared. They were small things. Details a man who spent his life in security learns not to ignore. I'd retired from the patrol, but I couldn't sit still. I took a part-time admin job back at the SHP station. Just afternoons, 2 to 6. It felt good to be around the uniforms, to still be of use. Lorelei had retired from teaching the year before. Our house was quiet. Too quiet. I came home one Tuesday. The house was still. "Lorelei?" I called out. "In the kitchen, Raleigh." I walked in, dropping my keys. I stopped. 2 wine glasses were in the sink, a faint red ring at the bottom of each. I picked one up. "We have company?" I asked. She turned from the stove, her face flushed. "Oh, just Martha from the school. She stopped by. We were just catching up." "Martha," I said. I nodded. Didn't know she drank wine. "Just a little, Raleigh. Don't be such a cop," she laughed. "But I'm on blood pressure medication. Strong stuff." The doctor was clear. Not 1 drop of alcohol. Lorelei knew that. We hadn't kept wine in the house for years. A few days later, another crack. I came home, and as I walked into the living room, I smelled it. Cologne. It wasn't mine. Mine was cheap drugstore spice. This was expensive, musky. It was hanging in the air, strongest near the sofa. "Lorelei?" "I'm in the bedroom, resting," she called out. I found her lying down, an arm over her eyes. "You okay?" I asked. "Just so tired, Raleigh. I think I'll skip dinner." "Smells like someone was here," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. She sat up, a little too quickly. "What? Oh, that must have been the delivery man. He brought that package for Audrey. He had to come inside to set it down. He must have been wearing cologne." It sounded weak. It sounded like a lie, but I pushed it down. This was Lorelei, my wife of 33 years. The suspicion became a low-grade fever. It was always there, under the surface. Then came the bedsheets. Lorelei was always tidy, but this was different. It became a ritual. Every Tuesday, every Thursday. The washing machine was running when I got home. "More sheets?" I asked one Thursday. "You know how it is, Raleigh. The heat. Everything just feels grubby." It was October. It was 60 degrees out. The nail in the coffin came from Mrs. Mercer. She lived 3 doors down, and her porch was the neighborhood watchtower. I was getting the mail when she called out from across her yard. "Afternoon, Lieutenant Jennings." She always used my old rank. "Afternoon, Mrs. Mercer." She ambled over, watering can in hand. My. You and Mrs. Jennings are certainly moving up in the world." "Ma'am?" "That car. So shiny. I see it all the time." A cold feeling started in my stomach. "What car is that, Mrs. Mercer?" "Oh, that big black one. A Continental, I think. Just beautiful. Parks right in front of your house." My blood went cold. "When?" "Oh, like clockwork," she said, delighted to share. "Tuesdays and Thursdays, every week. Parks around 3 in the afternoon. Leaves right before 5. 3 to 5. The exact hours I was at the station." "Must be one of your kids' fancy friends," she said. "Must be," I replied. My voice was tight. "Thank you, Mrs. Mercer." I walked back to the house. Tuesday and Thursday. The days the sheets were washed. The days Lorelei was always tired. The days I was at work. This wasn't a crack. This was a canyon. A black Continental. My mind raced, flipping through years of memories. Ridgeline was not a big town. You knew the cars, so you knew the money, and I knew that car. It came to me in a flash. My promotion party, years ago. The big one when I made lieutenant. We had a barbecue in the backyard. The whole station was there. And he showed up. Alistair Stone, owner of Stone Construction, the biggest builder in the county. He was all flashy suits, a blinding white smile, and a handshake that felt like a challenge. He'd arrived in a brand new black Continental. He'd brought a bottle of scotch that cost more than my weekly paycheck. "Lieutenant," he'd boomed, clapping my shoulder. "A pillar of our community. We're all safer because of you." It felt fake then. It felt sickening now. I remembered Lorelei. She'd been different with him, laughing too loud, touching his arm. "Oh, Alistair, you're too kind," she'd said, her voice an octave higher than usual. "Raleigh just does his job." "He's a lucky man," Stone had said, his eyes not on me, but on her. A very lucky man. I dismissed it at the time. I was a cop. I was trained to see threats. I wasn't trained to see them in my own backyard, at my own party, smiling in my wife's face. I sat in my armchair as the sun went down, the house growing dark around me. Alistair Stone. The name settled in my chest like a block of ice. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the gap between me and Lorelei. It wasn't just the mattress anymore. It felt miles wide. I replayed every odd moment from the last year, every tired night, every book club meeting, every friend who stopped by. The next morning, I couldn't hide my exhaustion. "Raleigh, you look terrible," Lorelei said over coffee. "Are you feeling all right?" "Just tired," I said. The irony tasted like ash. I went to my scheduled checkup with Dr. Evans. An old patrol injury in my left knee had been barking for weeks. "Roland," he said, looking at the X-ray. "This isn't good. You've got no cartilage left in there. You're bone on bone." I can handle it, I said. No, you can't. You need to stay off it. Completely. I'm writing you a note for 2 weeks of medical leave. No desk duty, no driving, nothing. I want you on that couch with ice. My heart hammered. 2 weeks. Starting when? Starting now. I felt a strange, dark calm settle over me. All right, Doc, if you say so. I drove to the station and handed my captain the note. Take care of yourself, Raleigh, he said. We'll see you in 2. I drove home. When I pulled into the garage, I made my decision. I walked into the house. Lorelei was in the kitchen, wiping down the counters. I'm home, I said. She looked at the clock. It's not even noon. Did you get fired? She joked. Knee gave out, I said, putting on a wince. Doc's putting me on desk duty for the next couple of weeks, but I'm taking the rest of the day off. He said to ice it. It was a partial lie, the crucial part. Oh, you poor thing, she said, all concern. Here, sit down. I'll get you an ice pack. As she bustled around me, I watched her. Her kind face, her gentle hands. Was it all an act? I was going to find out. I spent the rest of the week on the couch, playing the part of the invalid. I iced my knee. I watched TV. I let Lorelei wait on me. You're a good wife, I'd say. I try, she'd smile, and kiss my forehead. It felt cold. I was watching. Every text she sent. Every time her phone buzzed and she'd quickly flip it over. Every quick trip to the store she had to make. Then came Tuesday. The next Tuesday. I've got my book club this afternoon, Raleigh, she announced, putting on earrings. You'll be all right here alone for a couple of hours? She was dressed up. Nice slacks. A silk blouse I hadn't seen in years. That faint scent of expensive perfume. I'll be fine, I said from the couch. Don't worry about me, have fun. We will. It's my turn to host, but with your knee, I just told them I'd meet them at the cafe. Makes sense. She kissed me. I'll be back around 5. Okay. The moment I heard her car pull out of the driveway, I was off the couch. My knee screamed, but I ignored it. I went to the front window, peering through the blinds. I waited. 10 minutes. 15. At 2:55 p.m. it appeared, a gleaming black Continental gliding down our quiet street. It didn't pull into the driveway. It didn't park in front. It pulled up on the corner just past Mrs. Mercer's house, partially hidden by an overgrown oak. The passenger door opened. Lorelei, my wife, got out of her own car, which she'd parked down the street. She looked both ways, then hurried to the Continental, pulled the door open, and slipped inside. The car didn't wait. It pulled smoothly away and disappeared. I stumbled back from the window. My legs gave out, and I sat hard on the floor. It was real. It wasn't suspicion. It wasn't a mistake. I sat there for a long time, the silence of the house pressing in on me. My world, my fortress, had just been breached. No, it hadn't been breached. It had been hollowed out from the inside. I was sitting in an empty shell. Rage came first. A hot, white rage. I wanted to smash things. I wanted to get in my truck, find that Continental, and drag Alistair Stone out of it. I wanted to put my fist through his smiling, arrogant face. But I was a cop. And a cop needs evidence. A cop needs the whole truth. Seeing her get in the car wasn't enough. I needed to know what happened inside my house. I limped to my study. I opened my laptop. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. Button-sized surveillance cameras. Next day delivery. I found a site. 4 cameras, wireless, high definition, audio enabled, transmitted directly to a secure app on my phone. It went against every principle I had to spy, in my own home, on my own wife. I clicked purchase. I paid the extra $40 for overnight shipping. The next day was Wednesday. I was a nervous wreck, watching the window. "What's wrong with you, Raleigh?" Lorelei asked. "You're jumping at every sound." "Just the pain meds," I grunted. "They make me jittery." At 10:30 a.m., the delivery truck arrived. I met the driver on the porch, signing for the small, discreet box. "What's that?" Lorelei asked from the doorway. "New part for my old radio," I lied. "Been waiting on it." I took the box to the garage. "I'm going to the salon," she called out a few minutes later. "My roots are a disaster." "Okay," I yelled back. The moment her car was gone, I went to work. My knee was throbbing, but I moved with a cold, precise energy. One camera in the living room, on the high bookshelf tucked between a photo of Mason in his uniform and one of Audrey at her graduation. One in the kitchen, hidden in a fake plant on top of the refrigerator. One in the main hallway, disguised as a smoke detector screw. And the last one, the one that felt like a violation of my own soul. I went into our bedroom. I looked at the bed we had shared for 33 years. I put the camera on the bookshelf, facing it. I went back to the living room, downloaded the app, and synced the cameras. The feed was crystal clear. I could see my empty house from 4 different angles. I felt sick. I was a detective in my own home, and I was about to be the chief witness to the end of my life. Thursday, May the 16th, 2019. The date is burned into my memory. I woke up before dawn. I didn't sleep. I just lay there, listening to Lorelei breathe beside me. I went through the motions. Coffee, morning paper. "Knee's feeling a little better," I said, testing it. "I think I'll go into the station this afternoon, just to get out of the house. I'm going crazy here." Lorelei looked up from her magazine, a flicker of, "Was it panic? Are you sure? Dr. Evans said 2 weeks. I'll just sit at my desk, 2 to 6, like usual. It'll be fine." "Well, okay, Raleigh, if you think you're up to it." Her smile seemed a little too bright. At 1:45 p.m., I grabbed my keys. "See you tonight." "See you, honey. Be careful on that knee." I got in my truck. I didn't drive to the station. I drove to the end of our street, parked 2 blocks down, in a spot where I had a clear view of the house, but was hidden by a line of hedges. I opened the app. Living room, empty. Kitchen, empty. Hallway, empty. Bedroom, empty. I watched. I waited. This was the longest, darkest shift of my life. For almost half an hour, nothing. The house was silent. At 2:15 p.m., the feed from the living room camera flickered. The front door opened. My heart stopped. Lorelei walked in. She was wearing the silk blouse. She checked her hair in the hallway mirror. Then she turned back and held the door open. Alistair Stone walked into my house. He was holding a briefcase in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. He set them both down on my coffee table, and before the door was even fully closed, he pulled Lorelei to him. He grabbed her waist and kissed her. Not a simple kiss. A deep, long, hungry kiss. I watched my wife melt into him. I watched her hands go up into his salt and pepper hair. I felt the blood drain from my face. I forced myself to keep watching. I turned up the volume on my phone. They broke the kiss. Stone smiled. "I missed you," he said, his voice smooth. "This week was torture." "Me too," Lorelei breathed. Her voice was different, younger, eager. "But we have to be careful. Raleigh's home on leave. His knee." "He's not home now, is he?" Stone said, already moving toward the kitchen. No, he said he was going to the station. He's so predictable. 2 to 6, like always. Is the old lieutenant still playing pretend-a-cop at that desk? Stone asked. His tone was full of mockery. I watched on the kitchen feed as Lorelei laughed. It was a light, girlish laugh, a laugh I hadn't heard in a decade. He likes to feel useful, she said, dismissively. And honestly, it's better. It gets him out of the house. Stone was opening the wine. Pathetic. A man should know when to quit. He's Raleigh, she said with a shrug. He's just Raleigh. Always the same stories from the patrol. Always the same routine. Breakfast at 7, lunch at 12, dinner at 7. It's like living with a clock. A boring clock, Stone said, handing her a glass of wine. A very boring clock, she agreed. They toasted. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. Pathetic. Boring. A clock. This was the woman I had built my life for. They moved back to the living room, sitting on the sofa. My sofa. So why do you stay? Alistair asked, stroking her arm. Why are you still with him? Lorelei took a long sip of wine. She looked around the room, at the pictures of our children, at the furniture we'd picked out together. Comfort, I guess, she said. Her voice was flat. And the house is paid for. The kids are grown. She paused, then looked at him with a small, calculating smile. And that State Highway Patrol medical insurance is excellent. With my blood pressure, I can't be without it. The phone slipped from my grip. It clattered against the steering wheel. Medical insurance. 33 years, 2 children, a lifetime of memories, and I was reduced to comfort and a good medical plan. I felt the air leave my lungs. I was going to be sick. I fumbled for the phone, picking it back up. I had to see it all. I had to know how deep the rot went. On the screen, Alistair Stone laughed. That's my practical girl. But you deserve more than just comfort and insurance. He leaned in, kissing her neck. You deserve the world, Lorelei. And you'll give it to me? She whispered, tilting her head back. When that old fool finally kicks the bucket? Absolutely, Stone said, his voice arrogant and low. I'll marry you. We'll sell this dump. My house on the coast, trips to Europe, jewelry, designer clothes. He ran a hand down her arm. Everything that failed cop could never give you. He's not a failed cop, she said, but it was weak, a token defense. He's a lieutenant, Lorelei. A glorified desk jockey. I own half this county. You chose poorly, my love. But we can still fix it. Yes, she said. Yes, we can. He stood up, pulling her to her feet. Let's not waste any more time talking about him, he said. He led her down the hallway. I watched on the hallway camera as they walked past the photos of our family. They didn't even glance at them. They disappeared into the bedroom. My hand trembled as I switched feeds to the bedroom camera. I watched Alistair Stone, in my house, take my wife into his arms. I watched them fall onto my bed, the bed where I slept, the bed where we'd conceived Mason and Audrey, the bed where I'd held her when her mother passed away. I watched for 5 seconds, then I turned off the app. I couldn't watch anymore. I dropped the phone onto the passenger seat. A sound came out of my throat, a low, animal sound of pain. I slammed my fist into the dashboard, again and again, until my knuckles were split and bleeding. The pain was nothing. It was a distant echo compared to the chasm that had just opened up inside me. I started the truck. I drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove. Aimlessly. Through the streets of the town I'd protected for 40 years, past the school where she'd taught, past the park where we'd had picnics with our kids. Every memory was a lie. Every shared moment was a fraud. I drove for hours. I ended up at the scenic overlook, high above ridgeline. I watched the sun set, painting the sky in colors of fire and blood. I was a widower. My wife was still alive, but the woman I married was dead. She had been dead for years. I just hadn't known it. At 5:30 p.m., I checked the app again. The house was quiet. I rewound the feed. At 4:50 p.m., I watched Alistair Stone walk out of my bedroom, tucking in his shirt. Lorelei followed, smoothing her blouse. They looked immaculate. He kissed her at the front door. "Tuesday," he said. "Tuesday," she confirmed. He left. And I watched Lorelei, my wife. She immediately went to the bedroom. She stripped the bed, bundling the sheets. She took them to the laundry. She went to the kitchen. She washed the 2 wine glasses and put them away. She opened the windows to air the place out. At 5:40 p.m., she picked up her phone and called me. I let it ring. She called again. I let it ring. The third time I answered. My voice was a dead, flat thing. "Hello. Raleigh, honey, where are you? It's almost dinner time." Her voice was sweet, concerned. The act. It was all an act. "I'm sorting some things out," I said. "Is everything okay? You sound strange." "Everything's fine, just need some time alone. Don't wait up." I hung up before she could reply. I sat at that overlook until the sky was black, until the city lights below looked like a handful of scattered, broken jewels. I knew what I had to do. A cop finishes the investigation. A cop makes the arrest. I was going home to make my arrest. Self-correction? The plan moves from scene 11, the betrayal, to scene 13, the confrontation. Scene 12 was an error in my internal numbering during the expansion. I will proceed directly to scene 13 as outlined in the approved plan. I returned home at 9:15 p.m. The house was quiet. The lights were low. I parked in the garage, sat in the truck for a full minute, gathering what was left of myself. I wiped the dried blood off my knuckles. I walked inside. Lorelei was in the living room, pacing. She rushed toward me, her face a perfect mask of worry. "Raleigh, where were you? I was worried sick." She reached out to hug me. I put my hand up. "Don't." I'd never done that. Never. In 33 years, her hand froze in the air. Her smile faltered. "Raleigh? What's wrong? You're scaring me." "We need to talk," I said. My voice was gravel. "Of course, honey. What is it? Is it your job? Is it Mason?" "No. Not here." I looked at the sofa where he had sat. The kitchen. I walked past her. I sat at the kitchen table. Our table. I placed my cell phone on the wood, face down. She followed, sitting opposite me, her hands clasped together. She was nervous. Good. "What's going on, Raleigh? You're white as a ghost." The silence stretched. I just looked at her. I studied the face I thought I knew better than my own. "How long?" I finally asked. She frowned, that practiced, confused look. "How long what, honey?" "Don't call me honey." Her mouth snapped shut. "You and Alistair Stone," I said. "How long?" Her face didn't just go pale, it went gray. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. She looked like I'd struck her. I don't know what you're—" "Don't." I cut her off, my voice sharp as a razor. "Don't lie, not anymore. I'm tired of the lies, Lorelei. Just give me the truth. How long?" She stared at the table. Her fingers found her wedding band, twisting it. Twisting, twisting. 2 years, she whispered. My breath hitched. 2 years. 2 years, I repeated. It wasn't a question. While I was at the station, Tuesdays and Thursdays, she looked up, her eyes wide with panic. How did you know? Mrs. Mercer, the car, the wine glasses, the cologne, the sheets. I listed the evidence like a prosecutor. You got sloppy. Raleigh, she pleaded, tears welling in her eyes. Raleigh, please. It's not what you think. It's not what I think? I laughed. It was a broken, ugly sound. What is it then? Is he your wine consultant? Your laundry helper? It happened, she sobbed. I was lonely. You were always at the station, even after you retired. You were always gone, even when you were here. Lonely, I said. So you brought him into our house, into our bed. No, never. I would never. Stop. Lying. I picked up my phone. I turned it over, and I pressed play. I slid it across the table. Her eyes went to the small screen. She saw the living room. She saw Alistair Stone walk in. She saw him kiss her. Her hand flew to her mouth, stifling a scream. You spied on me? She whispered, her voice full of venom. You put cameras in our house? My house, I corrected her. The house I paid for. The house you were complaining about to your lover. The dump he's going to sell when the old fool finally kicks the bucket. Her face crumpled. She saw the recording of herself. She heard her own voice. Comfort, I guess. That excellent SHP medical insurance. She watched. She heard every word. Her head snapped up. The tears were gone. Her eyes were blazing. It wasn't shame. It was rage. Pure, cornered animal rage. You bastard, she hissed. You sat there and spied on me? How dare you? How dare I? I was on my feet, roaring. How dare you? You brought that snake into my home. This is my home too, she screamed back, jumping to her feet. You think you can just film me? I can, and I did, I yelled, pointing at the phone. And it's all right there. The divorce court is going to love this. You're done, Lorelei. You get nothing. You think so? She snarled. Before I could react, she lunged. She wasn't a young woman, but she moved with a desperate speed. She snatched the phone off the table. No, I shouted, reaching for it. She was faster. With a scream, she turned and smashed the phone against the granite countertop. Once. Twice. The screen shattered. She wasn't done. She threw the sparking, broken wreck of my phone into the kitchen sink, which was half full of water from dinner dishes. It hit the water with a fizz and a puff of smoke. Then it was dead. There! She shrieked, her chest heaving. There's your proof. There's your evidence. You want to go to court? Go. It's your word against mine. Who are they going to believe, Raleigh? The respected school teacher? Or the paranoid old cop who spies on his own wife? I stared at the sink, the phone, the recordings, the app, the only copy of the evidence. It was gone. I looked back at her. She was breathing hard, her eyes wild, a triumphant, hateful sneer on her face. In that moment, I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger, an enemy, and she had just won. I didn't say another word. I turned and walked out of the kitchen. That's right, Raleigh, walk away, she screamed at my back. That's what you're good at. I went into the guest room. I locked the door. I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark, and for the first time, I felt the true, crushing weight of my new reality. She was right. It was my word against hers. I had nothing. The next morning, I packed a bag. Lorelei was at the kitchen table, drinking coffee, looking composed, smug. I'm leaving, I said from the doorway. And going where? She asked, not looking up. A motel. I'm calling a lawyer today. Go ahead, she said, finally meeting my eyes. Her voice was ice. Call him. Tell him your crazy story. By the time I'm done, you'll be lucky to keep your part-time job. It's not a crazy story, Lorelei. It's the truth. It's a story, Raleigh, and mine is better. Mine is about a lonely, retired wife and her husband who became paranoid, controlling, and delusional, who imagined an affair and planted cameras in her bedroom. Who do you think the judge will sympathize with? I left. My lawyer, a sharp guy named Ben Carter, laid it out for me. Roland, I believe you, he said, steepling his fingers. 100%. But a judge won't. You have zero evidence. You admit you planted cameras, which is legally gray. She'll say you fabricated the entire thing. But she admitted it. 2 years. Did you record that conversation, Roland? No, she smashed the phone. Ben sighed. Then it never happened. It's he said, she said. And in this state, without proof of infidelity, everything is community property. She's going to get half of everything. The house, the savings, half of your pension. My pension? I earned that. 40 years? 33 of which you were married to her. That's the law, Raleigh. She's entitled to it. And since she has no income and you do, you'll likely be paying her alimony. I felt sick. So I lose. You prepare for a long, ugly, expensive fight, Ben said. Or you settle. Let her keep the house, give her half the pension, and you walk away. It's a clean break. It's faster. It's cheaper. I moved into a small, furnished apartment downtown. 1 bedroom. A kitchen the size of a closet. The furniture smelled like old cigarettes and defeat. I settled. I gave her the house. I gave her half my savings. I gave her half of the pension I had bled for. I walked away with my truck, my clothes, and my dignity. It felt like a pretty poor trade. 6 months passed. It was November. The divorce was final. I was a ghost. I'd go to my part-time job. I'd come home to my empty apartment. I'd eat a frozen dinner. I'd watch the news. I'd go to sleep. Meanwhile, Lorelei and Alistair Stone were the talk of Ridgeline. They were living in the house. My house. They'd been seen at the country club. They took a trip to Italy, Rome, Paris, all the places she'd dreamed of. I saw them once. I was getting gas. The Black Continental pulled up to the other pump. Alistair got out, laughing, and opened the passenger door for her. Lorelei emerged, wearing a new fur-trimmed coat. She looked happy. She looked younger. She saw me. Her smile vanished. Stone looked over, saw me, and his face broke into that arrogant, mocking grin. He put his arm around Lorelei's shoulder possessively and pulled her close, kissing her temple. It was a message. I won. I took your life. I got in my truck and drove away. I was at my lowest. I was broke. I was alone. I was 62 years old, and my life was over. A week before Christmas, I was leaving the station. It was dark, cold, and starting to rain. Mr. Jennings? A voice came from the shadows by the building. I tensed. Old cop habits. A young woman stepped into the light of the street lamp. She was maybe 30, wearing a thin coat, holding a large envelope to her chest. She looked terrified. "Who are you?" I asked. My name is Sarah. Sarah Pullman. I used to work for Alistair Stone." My gut clenched. Stone. Yes, sir. I was his personal assistant at Stone Construction. "What do you want?" My voice was harsh. He fired me last month, right before Thanksgiving." She was shivering, but I wasn't sure it was from the cold. "He said I was I was restructuring, but I know why. It's because I saw things. Because I knew things. Knew what? She looked around, her eyes darting down the empty street. Not here. Please. Can we go somewhere? I have to show you something. I know what he did to you. What your wife did. I looked at her. The desperate eyes. The envelope. This was either a trap or something else. My truck's over here, I said. Get in. We didn't talk as I drove. I took her to a small 24-hour diner on the highway. It was mostly empty. We took a booth in the back corner. I ordered 2 black coffees. All right, Sarah, I said, my voice low. Talk. Mr. Stone is a monster, she whispered, her hands wrapped around the warm mug. He's charming, but he's a monster. You don't have to tell me. No, you don't understand. He's not just a cheat. He's a criminal, a real one. She slid the large envelope across the table. He fired me because I found this. I was supposed to be shredding old financial records, but I saw the names and the numbers. They didn't make sense. I opened the clasp. I pulled out a stack of papers, ledgers, bank statements. What am I looking at? Stone Construction is a front, she said. Half of its business is real. The other half is air. He's running a massive fraud scheme. He uses shell companies, all registered to fake names, to bill his own company for materials and consulting that never happen. He's been doing it for years, skimming millions. I stared at the pages. The numbers were staggering. He's hiding it, she continued, from the IRS, from his business partners, and from your ex-wife. My head snapped up. What? He's smart. He started this new series of accounts about 6 months ago, right when your divorce was starting. He's funneling most of the money there. I heard him on the phone with his lawyer. He was laughing. He said, "My new partner won't see a dime of this if things go south, just like the last one." He wasn't just cheating on me. He was already planning to cheat on her. He ruined my career, Sarah said, her voice shaking with anger. He threatened me. He said if I ever breathed a word of this, he'd make sure I never worked in this state again. I was scared. But then I saw him. With her. At the country club, laughing. And I saw you. At the gas station. She'd been there. She'd seen it. It's not fair, she said. What he did to you. What he did to me. He deserves to pay. She pushed a small flash drive across the table. It's all there, she said. The ledgers, the offshore account numbers, the wire transfers, everything. He ruined my career. Now you can ruin him. I looked at the flash drive. It was small, black, and heavier than a grenade. I had a choice. I could use it. I could get a lawyer, go after Stone, maybe get some of my money back. Leverage, blackmail, or... I looked at Sarah. I looked at the drive. I was a cop. I had been a cop for 40 years. I knew exactly what to do. I drove Sarah home. She lived in a small apartment complex on the other side of town. Thank you, she said at the curb, for listening, for believing me. You did a brave thing, Sarah. A very brave thing. What? What are you going to do? The right thing, I said. Go inside, lock your doors, and don't talk to anyone about this, ever. She nodded and disappeared inside. I didn't go home. I went to my apartment, but I just sat in the truck for an hour, holding that flash drive. This was bigger than my marriage. This was bigger than Alistair Stone. This was wire fraud, tax evasion, millions of dollars. I thought about Lorelei. I thought about her laughing in my house. I thought about her smashing my phone. I thought about Alistair's mocking grin at the gas station. It would be so easy to use this to destroy them personally, to leak it to the press, to hire a lawyer and sue them into oblivion. But that wasn't me. That wasn't who Martin Jennings raised. That wasn't what the State Highway Patrol had taught me. You don't fight filth by getting in the mud. You fight it with the law. The next morning, at 9 a.m. sharp, I walked into the federal building in downtown Ridgeline. I went up to the 3rd floor. I walked up to the counter. "I need to speak with an agent from the white-collar crime division," I said to the receptionist. "My name is Roland Jennings. I'm a retired lieutenant with the SHP, and I have evidence of a major fraud operation." I sat in a small gray room for 2 hours. Finally, 2 agents came in. A man and a woman, both in dark suits, both with hard, assessing eyes. "Mr. Jennings," the man said, "I'm Agent Harris. This is Agent Cole. You said you have evidence?" I didn't say a word. I just placed the flash drive on the metal table between us. "This," I said, "is Stone Construction. And this is Alistair Stone." I told them the story. Not my story. Not the affair. Not the divorce. I told them Sarah's story. The fired assistant. The shredded documents. The shell companies. They listened. They didn't interrupt. When I was done, Agent Harris picked up the flash drive. "This evidence," he said. "It was provided to you by this Sarah Pullman?" "Yes." "And you're handing it over, just like that. Why? What's in it for you?" I met his gaze. "I was a cop for 40 years, Agent. I believe in the law. That man is a criminal. He belongs in jail." Agent Cole spoke for the first time. "What about the source? This Sarah Pullman, is she in danger?" "She's terrified," I said. "She needs protection, anonymity." Harris nodded. "We can do that. If this is what you say it is, she's a material witness." He stood up. "Mr. Jennings, we'll take it from here. We may need to talk to you again, but for now, thank you for your service." "Just do your job," I said. I walked out of the federal building into the bright winter sunlight. For the first time in 6 months, I felt like I could breathe again. I had set the bomb. Now I just had to wait for it to go off. Weeks turned into a month. Then 2. Christmas came and went. A quiet, lonely affair. Mason called from his base. Audrey called from the hospital. They both sent their love. They both carefully avoided asking about Lorelei. I heard nothing from the FBI. Nothing. I started to wonder if I'd imagined it, if Stone was too big, too connected. Then, it happened. It was a Tuesday in February. I was at the station filing reports. My old captain, a guy named Franks, walked over. "Hey, Raleigh, you hear the news?" "What news, Cap?" "You know Alistair Stone? The construction guy?" My heart hammered. "I know of him." "Well, you won't believe this. A dozen FBI agents, a dozen, raided the country club at lunch, in front of everybody, arrested him right off the 9th green, slapped the cuffs on him." I kept my face perfectly still. "You're kidding. What for?" "They're not saying much, but the rumor is massive fraud, tax evasion, the works. They're at his office and his house right now, seizing everything." A slow smile spread across my face. "Well, what do you know? Guess nobody is above the law after all." "Guess not," Frank said, walking away. "Good riddance to bad rubbish." I sat there, staring at the report in my hand. I thought about Stone, in his golf spikes, being led away in handcuffs, in front of all his rich, important friends. I thought about Sarah. I hoped she was somewhere safe. I thought about my flash drive. It was done. Justice. The fallout was immediate. It was the biggest story in Ridgeline. Alistair Stone's empire collapsed like a house of cards. His assets were frozen. His partners fled. He was facing a mountain of federal charges. And Lorelei, she was tied to him. The feds seized the house. My house. Since she was living with him, and he had been paying the bills, it was considered part of his assets. She was kicked out, with nothing. The friends from the country club wouldn't take her calls. Her book club vanished. In a town like Ridgeline, she was a pariah. The woman who cheated on the local cop. The woman who shacked up with the local crook. She lost everything. I heard from my daughter, Audrey. "Dad," she said, her voice strained. I talked to Mom." "Oh?" "She's not good, Dad. She's living in a tiny apartment over by the highway. She has no money, Stone's lawyers aren't even talking to her? She's broken? She made her choice, Audrey." I know she did. It's still Mom." "I know, sweetheart. She asked about you. What about me? She wanted to know if you were happy." I looked around my small, clean, quiet apartment. "I'm at peace, Audrey. Tell her I'm at peace." A year passed. Stone was convicted, sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. I settled into my new life, my quiet life. I saw my kids. I was saving up to buy a small fishing boat. I was healing. Then, another call from Audrey. This one was different. She was crying. "Dad? It's Mom." My stomach dropped. "What? What happened?" "She's sick, Dad. She has breast cancer." I sat down. "Oh no. They caught it. But it's aggressive. She needs surgery and chemo. And, Dad, she has no money. Stone's case wiped her out. She's just on a basic, high-deductible insurance plan. She can't afford the co-pays. She's going to lose everything." She was sobbing now. She's alone. She has no one. I thought about the woman who had smashed my phone. The woman who had laughed at me. The woman who had reduced our marriage to a medical plan. The irony was so thick, so bitter, I could taste it. She'd stayed with me for the excellent SHP medical insurance, and now she had nothing. I thought about my son, Mason. I thought about Audrey. "Where is she?" I asked. "At her apartment. She's a mess." I closed my eyes. "I'm on my way," I said. I hadn't seen her in over a year. I knocked on the door of the rundown apartment. The woman who opened it was not the woman I remembered. It wasn't the vibrant teacher I'd married. It wasn't the gloating mistress from the country club. This was a thin, frail, terrified-looking woman. Her hair was limp. Her eyes were red and swollen. She was wearing an old, frayed bathrobe. She saw me and her hand flew to her mouth. "Raleigh," she whispered. She looked around, as if expecting to see someone else. What are you doing here?" "Audrey called me." "She shouldn't have," Lorelei said, turning away, ashamed. "I told her not to." "Are you here to laugh?" she asked, her back to me. "To say I told you so?" "No." I looked around the grim, dark apartment. It was a single room, a hot plate, a sagging bed. "Your first appointment," I said. "When is it?" She turned, confused. "Tomorrow, at the clinic, in Charlotte." I was going to take the bus. "The bus," I repeated. I shook my head. "Get your coat, Lorelei." She just stared at me. "Get your coat," I said, my voice softer. "It's a long drive. You'll be late for your chemo appointment." Tears streamed down her face. Not the fake tears from the kitchen. Not the angry tears. These were real. Why? She whispered. After everything. Why? Because Audrey asked me to, I lied. It wasn't the real reason. I was doing it because it was the right thing to do. I was doing it because, despite everything, she was the mother of my children, and I was doing it for me. To prove that I was still the man I'd always been. She slowly got her coat. I walked her to my truck. I opened the door for her, and I drove her to Charlotte. I did it for 6 months. Every Tuesday, I'd pick her up. I'd drive her to the clinic. I'd sit in the waiting room for 4 hours while the poison dripped into her veins. We barely spoke. Sometimes, I'd bring her a blanket or a bottle of water. She'd whisper, "Thank you." I'd nod. When the treatment was done, I'd help her back to the truck. She'd be sick. I'd pull over on the highway and wait. I'd drive her home. I'd walk her to her door, and I'd leave. Mason and Audrey were floored. "Dad, I don't know how you're doing it," Mason told me on the phone. "You're a better man than I am." "I'm just doing what needs to be done, son." Lorelai recovered. The treatment was brutal, but it worked. She lost her hair. She lost her pride. But she beat the cancer. The day the doctor told her she was in remission, she cried in the car on the way home. "Thank you, Raleigh," she said, her voice hoarse. You saved my life." "The doctor saved your life, Lorelai. I just drove the car." "No," she said, looking at me. "You did. I'm so sorry, Raleigh, for everything." "I know," I said. It was all that needed to be said. Our relationship was never repaired. We were not friends. We were just two people, bound by a long, broken history. Last year, the State Highway Patrol honored me, a ceremony for 50 years of service counting from my enrollment date. It was a simple affair. My son Mason flew in. He stood beside me in his Army uniform, proud. Audrey was there, with her husband, and my new granddaughter, Sophia, my granddaughter. She ran around the station, and for the first time in years, my heart felt completely full. As I accepted my plaque, I looked out at the small crowd. In the very back row, sitting by herself, was Lorelai. Her hair was growing back, short and gray. She was thin, but she was there. She didn't stay for the cake. But as I was leaving, she was waiting by the door. "Congratulations, Raleigh," she said. "Thank you for coming, Lorelai." "You deserve it," she said, her eyes meeting mine. They were clear and full of regret. "You were always an honorable man. I was a fool." I nodded. "Goodbye, Raleigh. Goodbye, Lorelai. I'm 68 now. My days are quiet. I wake up in my little apartment. I drink my coffee. I go to my job. On weekends, I take my granddaughter fishing. I lost my marriage. I lost my house. I lost a life I thought was real. But I never lost myself. Lorelai lost everything. She lost her lover to a prison cell. She lost her money to his crimes. She lost her friends, her status, and her health. She was left with nothing but the consequences of her choices. I don't take any pleasure in it. I just feel sad. Sad for the waste. But as I look out my window, at the town I've always known, I know who I am. I'm Roland Jennings. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. And I'm a man of honor. And that's something no one can ever take from me. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.